Is Alduin evil?
Yes!
That's not fair. You didn't even give me a chance.
Is every single video you do gonna be, oh my god, this thing you thought was bad was actually good?
No. Well, I don't think so anyway, but that's not actually what I'm asking. I'm asking, is Alduin evil? You know, like the Joker, or Lex Luthor, or Bowser, or Voldemort. You're just run-of-the-mill, mustache-wearing ne'er-do-wells. Because I'm not so sure. Let's start at the beginning. Alduin the World Eater is a dragon. There's not a lot of agreement in the world of Tamriel as to where dragons came from exactly, but they seem to be related to Akatosh, the chief deity of the world of Nirn. And this is probably true. I mean, Akatosh himself takes the form of a dragon. They supposedly have a natural inclination to dominate other people, and if Tamriel had had Fet life, it's entirely possible history would have unraveled completely differently. Alduin himself is purportedly the firstborn of Akatosh, and is tasked with the role of World Eater. That is to say, he's supposed to bring about the end of the world. But since there's, you know, a world when you start playing Skyrim, it's clear that he didn't quite manage to do that yet. Apparently his lustful, dragony nature to bind humans in chains and whip their butts overcame his intended purpose. Humans rebelled, used the Elder Scroll on him, and poof, he's someone else's problem now. Specifically, future Skyrim's. He appears in Skyrim when you first start the game and just starts being a dick everywhere, and you're like, oh my god, stop being a dick, and you stab him in the face with shouts until he dies and he evaporates into nothingness, vanquished by Thor. What? Oh, you mean you didn't? Okay, but maybe you didn't know about this, but Skyrim pulls really heavily from Norse mythology, and Alduin himself is actually based off of Jörmungandr, also known as the Midgard Serpent, or the World Serpent. The serpent is this huge fucking monster that threatens all of existence until Thor beats the shit out of him and throws him in the ocean, where he waits until it's time to come back, poison the sky, and destroy all of existence. Personally, I love stories like these because they show that for thousands of years, people have known that we might not exist anymore. I mean, it's unlikely that there were too many people that actually thought that there was an actual monster living in the ocean waiting to kill us. I mean, probably, except for the ones that actually are, but anyway, I'm getting off track. What the Midgard Serpent represents isn't just some sort of giant slithering monster, but the inevitability of death and the inevitability of extinction and the raw, unstoppable, colossal powers of nature and things beyond our control. And there's always something. I mean, we may have more or less figured out tornadoes and polio, but there's still super volcanoes and giant meteors and solar flares and global climate change, and if we're really, really stupid, total nuclear annihilation. But at least in that case, I'll get to run around wearing power armor. Which brings us back to Skyrim and Alduin. And if the myths surrounding him are true, and there's some reason to believe that they are, since the Dragonborn can't absorb his soul, and he seems to be the only dragon capable of traveling to the world of the dead and controlling the climate there, then I think it's really important that we rethink how we look at Alduin as an antagonist. And yeah, totally, he's definitely an antagonist, regardless of whether or not he's evil. Because there's this tendency to oversimplify antagonists as the bad guy of a story, which is a fair heuristic to make. I mean, tons of antagonists are just terrible people. It's a relatively easy story to tell. It's like, this person is bad, we must stop the bad thing because we are good, or we must become good by stopping the bad person, and on and on and on it goes. But in actuality, the antagonist is just someone who opposes the protagonist, the main character of the story. That's it. Your story can be about a person on a quest to drive home drunk as fuck from the bar, and they are thwarted by a police officer who pulls them over for making just terrible choices. The police officer in this story is not a bad person, but they are an antagonist. And in Skyrim, since you're the Dragonborn and Alduin is very intent to keep you from Dragonborning, he is very solidly the antagonist. But is he bad? You could argue that he is, of course. I mean, he did found an entire society based around oppressing humans, and in doing so, he shirks his duty as the person responsible for destroying the planet, and unless there's liberal use of safe words, I'm not really okay with the whole dominating an entire race thing. Of course, that's also not something for which anyone in Tamriel could be throwing stones over. I mean, the Dwemer were major dicks to the Snow Elves and forced them to cut out their fucking eyes in exchange for protection. Dunmer basically had an entire slave-based economy trading Khajiit and Argonians just because they're weird looking. And Nords love to wave their dicks around talking about Ysgramor, whose main claim to fame was murder stabbing just so many elves, like every elf in Skyrim. So while being a dominating dick eater isn't exactly praiseworthy, it's also kind of par for the course for Skyrim. Which kind of brings us back to square one. Is Alduin evil?
Why do you talk so much?
Alright, here it goes. Presuming Alduin really was created to destroy the planet, a planet that we all have very much fun in, I'd like to point out, I think we have to accept one of two things, and that's either that Alduin shirks his duty and we get to have all the fun we want in this marvelous planet that was created for us, or he bucks up, opens his mouth, does his job, and eats the world. And, you know, I don't think either one is particularly bad. I mean, for one thing, like, I make videos on YouTube, and it's stressful sometimes, but it's not hard, not in the way that like being a construction worker is hard. So I find it hard to judge Alduin for putting off destroying the world. I mean, it's a huge responsibility, and as we just pointed out, Nirn is kind of awesome. I mean, especially Skyrim, there's trees and butterflies and deer, people, mountains, snow, and magic. And so can you really blame Alduin for thinking twice about doing his job? I mean, I can't. And yes, he did create a culture that oppressed thousands, and he probably would have been happy to do so for all time, but you have to keep in mind that that's more or less how dragons were created. I mean, Paarthurnax is one glaring exception, but he basically had to create Zen Buddhism for dragons in order to keep himself in line. Dragons were built with a dominating nature that's very hard to fight. The consequence of Alduin sparing Tamriel is that he abuses his power. That isn't evil. That is weakness. Like a heroin addict looking for a fix, fighting that kind of drive is like one of the hardest things a person can do. Regardless, he's banished for shirking his duties and is killed by the dragon Thor, and then at the end of Skyrim we're left wondering, will Alduin be back? Will he return to destroy our world like an unstoppable, unthinking, and unfeeling force of nature? Or will he fall into his old habits of the tragic hubris? And if he does decide to eat the world, can we even call that evil? I mean, do we call the unthinking, unfeeling earthquakes evil? No, they're tragic. Thanks for watching. And what do you think? Is Alduin a tragic, weak figure, or is he just a big, evil monster who just wants to hurt everyone and kill everything? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in 2 weeks after I get back from my honeymoon.